All right, hopefully we should be live. And give me one sec while I test my microphone. And we should, I just want to pull up the chat section quickly. Okay, hopefully you guys can see my screen, and we are live on YouTube. Once again, good morning, good evening from people watching from different parts, right? Usually every every Sunday or Saturday, I try my best to go live on YouTube and answer as many questions as you have. So if you have any questions, let me know. Areto 1977 says hi Areto, how are you doing? Good to see you, man. Yeah, any sort of questions, man, please feel free to ask me your questions, and we'll try to answer if I know that. Can you make a tutorial about data tables and Ajax? Uh, I can make a tutorial, but I don't. I'm not an expert with front end. Most of my core skills are on back end, but definitely I can try to make some tutorials on data tables and Ajax. Please let me know if you can hear me properly. The audio is fine. If you could let me know by doing that in the chat section below, that would be really nice. So we'll wait for people to join in. Hopefully YouTube should send notification to everyone. All right, the audio is fine. That's great. Thank you, Areto. Thank you very much. Yeah. Any other questions that I can answer? Keep dumping your questions in the comment section below. Yeah, so expect some more tutorials this week, maybe on some Python, some quick tutorials on Python. For example, last week we made some nice tutorials on how to read massive files in Python. For example, CSV JSON 7 gigabytes or more, right? So we read in chunks, right? Memory efficient code, generators, right? We talked about that. I think we also talked about semantic search with Elasticsearch, right? I showed you a POC demo with how you could make everything work. So we did that as well. We'll keep exploring more on Elasticsearch, Python, AWS. Some cool projects, some new technology. That's the thing. As I said, as a software engineer, you always have to keep yourself up to the speed, right? You cannot be satisfied. When I say the word satisfied, means you cannot say, oh, I got a job, now I'm gonna relax, just gonna do the task 9 to 5. You're gonna be outdated pretty soon. You have to keep learning on weekends, or if not, at least know what new technologies are coming, right? So you definitely want to do that, right? Okay, so Areto says, okay, AI powered analysis for Word docs. Areto says to detect sentiment of the documents. Yeah, that is easy, man. I could make a video on that. So there is a library. So for example, if it's a PDF, I think it's PDF file. There was a library that I did. So all you gotta do, read the text, then you can use Amazon, which was the service that provides sentiment. I forgot the name of that. So you could directly pass the raw text to that, and you can get sentiments of the word text, right? So that is doable as well. Yeah. You could do also cool things with that. You could ingest a document to Elasticsearch, perform keyword searches, machine learning, all sort of fancy stuff. You could do that. So yeah. Areto says no network connection. Not sure. What do you mean about that? Hopefully my audio should be fine. I just tested out my connection here. Oh, Yashwant Reddy is here. Hey, Yashwant, good to see you, man. Welcome back to my channel. So, what's going on, Mr. Yashwant Reddy? What are you learning these days? Yashwant is one of my old YouTube subscriber. Always good to see you, man. Oh, Aruto says making AI analysis in a closed network. Okay, that's nice. Your audio is perfect. Great. Thanks, man. Thanks. What's going on, Mr. Yashwant Reddy? What project are you working on now? By the way, good to see you, man. Good to see you on my channel again. We can also talk about some new frameworks that have been released in Python. So let me know in the comment section so everybody can also know if you're working on something new. So yeah, Yashwant says, thanks a lot. As always, in your community, I'm learning Azure in recent times. Oh, all right. So you're learning more on cloud. That's great. Arato says, I appreciate your Q&A session. It's really helpful. Thank you very much, Arato. Yeah, so I was doing some research recently on vector-based databases, right? So you would be surprised, the only database with the vector database, I mean, there are a few, but the only leading vector database in the industry right now is Elasticsearch. Elasticsearch allows vector searches, similarity, that's the only search engine. I mean, there are a few, but that's the most popular right now in the industry. So Elasticsearch. Samir Gaikwad is here and says, learning SQLize ORM modules. Oh, that's amazing. All right, that's good. Aruto says, can we make a session about NLTK? Well, yep, I would think about that for sure. Elasticsearch, no knowledge about it at all. P. That's fine, man. I have a really nice series, Aruto, if you want to start on Elasticsearch. I take from zero to hero, assuming you don't know anything. You can check that out in my playlist section. So, there are tutorials on how to install Elasticsearch, how to install Kibana, then how to ingest document, and, so on. So, if you are really interested in that, yeah, man, check the playlist out, is what I would say. All right, any more questions for today? Let's see. Sounds good. Please post your questions. This is a quick 30 to 35 minutes of Q&A session. So if you wanna talk about anything, please feel free to post your question in the chat box, and let's talk more about it. Yeah. Did you guys see about the GitHub Copilot? I'm pretty sure everyone knows about it at this point. Did anyone actually install the plugin for VS Code and try that out? It's pretty cool though. The GitHub Copilot. Yeah. Samir Gaikwad says, which front-end framework will be the best? I know Vue, but confused about Angular and React. Yeah, all I would say, it doesn't matter. All that matter is, are you able to use the framework to deliver apps and product, right? Is what I would say. Is my opinion, okay? They all serve the same purposes. They are component-based stuff. Each of one of them has a certain pros and cons, and I'm not the best person to comment anything on that. But at the end of the day, what matters is, are you able to deliver the product, or are you able to make the front end with any? It doesn't matter. You use Angular, React, Vue, or you use HTML, Bootstrap. All matters, are you able to deliver, right? If you work in a product based company, what is important? Well, can you deliver it, right? So it's what I would say, man. Milan Bharadya is here and says, "What is the warm up? Oh, warm up in a Lambda AWS." Yes, I have read this. I have read a lot about the warm up time in Lambda AWS, and if I'm not wrong, as far as I remember, there is a small cold start when the Lambda starts. So, for example, if you have a massive amount of and I can double check and I can make a video on that. But as far as I remember, what I have read is, so when the Lambda start, essentially the AWS pulls up a container, and then whatever layers you have, it gets injected into the container, and then your code executes, right? There is a fraction amount of millisecond that is required to essentially warm up those, right? So AWS also offers that you could, I think, I don't know exactly, but what I'm trying to say is essentially you can set that up so that you won't have the cold start, essentially, is what I'm saying. So let's Google this up a little bit just to make sure. AWS Lambda warm up time. Let's see. AWS needs, yeah, I was right. AWS needs a ready to supply container to spin up when the functions are invoked. That means the functions are kept warm for around usually 30 to 45 minutes after executing and before being spun down. The container, oops, I lost that. This can, yeah, so it's essentially a cold start. This is what I said, right? So you could prevent that by there's some settings in AWS, so you could do that. So Milan, that's essentially what a cold start means. Hope that helps you. Samir Gaikwad here says, "Do you follow Network Chuck?" No, my friend, I do not, unfortunately. Most of the time, if I want to learn something new, I don't go to YouTube. And the reason is, hear me out why. The reason I say that, because my first learning objective, if I want to learn something new, I always go to the official documentation. If I don't understand that, then I read a blog or an article, because there I can quickly surf through the material very fast. In video, it's hard because then people are, hey, good morning, blah blah blah. Then the content, and then so it's hard. That's why my first preference is blogs, articles, Stack Overflow, official documentation. So that. But yeah, at times I do see some YouTube videos here and there, in the night, for fun, some what people are doing, what is new, going on in Python, some frameworks, yeah, stuff like that. So I would say you guys should develop some framework, man. If you guys know the core Python, when I say the word core Python, I mean meta classes, a lot more in Python, right? Python is just not about functions and stuff. You can write meta classes, descriptors. You can design an entire framework with that, right? So if you really know that well, you could really implement some nice framework tools with Python. I personally have done so many automation tools in my company as well. For example, I made a code generator. You input the variables, it automatically generates the code. I was like, yeah, I don't want to write a code for API, so stuff like that, scaffold generator, helper modules, So it would be nice, if you really understand the core concepts, maybe try reading or learning, developing some frameworks. Milan says, what should I use? What should I use the servers, less or servers I have for API doing image processing on Go? What should I use? Serverless? Oh, you're asking, should I use serverless or servers when I'm that's a great question. I would use serverless. That's the way to go. That's the industry standard way. Nobody wants to use server and running their API, because if it breaks, you have to deal with that. You have to deal with scaling up. You have to deal with software patches, version patches. You have to deal with modules version, which is why you want to go serverless. Focus on writing application code and not about versions and modules. And let AWS or any cloud provider handle the scaling up, right? So I would use serverless functions. I would usually use lambdas, lambdas, step functions. If you need something more compute heavy, you can use lambda on a Docker container. There are plenty of options for serverless, right? API gateway with lambda, API gateway, SQ. There are so many event patterns you can make, essentially design patterns on serverless too. So that is what I would do. Anything with image, I would make an asynchronous architecture. That means API gateway to SQS, SQS to a Lambda. That way I can fan out the stuff. All right. Any more questions that I can answer for today? Milan says thanks, bro. All right, no problem. What is salting? Well, salting is the art of essentially when you wanna store secret information, right? So what you do is you add a salt to it. You add a random, for example, how do I explain this? So in order to generate a very secret token, and I can get the exact definition from my phone. Give me a second. What is salting? So essentially, as I said, but I can read the exact definition. Salting is simply the addition of unique random string, as I said, right? Unique random string of characters known only to the site to the each password. So essentially, as I said, right, it's essentially used to add random characters to essentially, make your password more secret and lengthy, and then you can decrypt on the side with the hash and the sort. So there are a lot of libraries that does that. I think hashlib, bcrypt. Bcrypt, was that a library? I don't remember. I haven't done in a while that, but that's what it is, man. Essentially, you add some random noise to make your stuff more secret, and that salt only the guy, I mean, whoever is doing that no. So if the hacker hacks it, he doesn't know the salt, he cannot decrypt that. So is what I'm trying to say. So something like that. So Milan says, what are your projects you're working on? All right, I am working on developing frameworks. I lead a team of 5 to 6 people here in my company. We work on a lot of data ingestion projects, tools. What I can tell you is I made a framework for ingesting data that can handle massive volumes. We can ingest around 11 million, 100 million records. Excuse me. Recently, we ingested about what was that 90 million records. So I have made all these frameworks on AWS, a robust scheduling system using EventBridge, then using AWS Patch. Through API gateway, triggering asynchronous invocation, all these cool things with data, frameworks, pipelines, transformation jobs, all these things I handle it, right? So that's what I do. Then dump it to S3. I essentially am responsible for dealing everything with data, how the data should be stored, standardizing that, developing frameworks. Yeah, so that's what I do, man. That's all I can tell you right now. I can't go much in detail. In terms of stack, I manage Elk Stack. We manage about 150 million records. 150 million records. I also work with Postgres, SQL Server, MongoDB, DynamoDB, S3. I've worked with a lot of technology and cloud. So that's all I do, man. So I hope that helps. Hayat Basha says, can you make a tutorial on Python Scrapy? Nobody uses Scrapy, my friend, so I don't think I'll be making a video on that. Mostly people use this Beautiful Soup, Request, and Selenium. Scrapy, nobody uses, man, to be honest. Kesai Mohan says, "Hello Somil, I am going to take an Elasticsearch Observability Engineer exam." Wow, that's nice. Any idea or any tips about exam related stuff like toughness? Sai, to be honest, first of all, that's great you're taking an exam. I haven't formally taken any exam. Um, all my knowledge is a is as a self-taught person, so I really do not know anything about that exam because all I have learned is by watching videos, by learning, by reading blogs. I'm a self-taught person. I haven't given any exam for elk, but hopefully I'll ask one or two of my colleagues that have given these exams, and if I get any answers about that, I'll let you know. But as of now, I do not have any answers. Samir Gaikwad says, "How to mine crypto?" I do not have an answer for that. I don't do all, mining crypto, so I don't know. All right. Is there any more questions that we could answer today? Anything that you want to ask? Please dump that in the chat box below, and we can take a look at that and answer your questions. Chetan Parekh here says, "Is him the Elasticsearch guy? Is him the Elasticsearch guy?" Not sure. I did not quite understand your question. If you could rephrase that and maybe ask, I can answer that. All right, we will be there for 10 more minutes. So if you have any more questions, list them in the chat box, and we can answer in the order in which we have received the questions. Yashwant Reddy says, how much does certification matter for cracking interviews? Now, this is a whole new debate we could have on YouTube and on calls because it's completely different. The interviews in India and US are different, right? Interviews in India, when I was back in India, right, and I was being judged on my 10th standard, 12th standard. Did I qualify 55% and above? Then only you sit for placement. Did you had 7 point GPA in your engineering? Okay, then only you sit for placement. Then even in the placement, you have aptitude. The two trains are coming from here and there, which is completely unrelated to my field. You have to answer that. Then you have to clear something called GD. So it really depends. As I said, in US, it's all about knowledge. It doesn't matter if you have a degree or not, if you have a computer science or not. I know one of my close friend. He is a software engineer. He did not formally went to school, but amazing engineer. He learned all this React. He got a job in my company as well. So it's a whole new debate, as I said. It totally also depends on country, right? Are you in India? Are you in abroad? In abroad, certification matters. Yes. In India, I do not know if they check that for the interview or not, because I feel like they are so much interested in 10th and 12th standard. They never go beyond that. They never want to test your actual knowledge. Okay, does the person knows anything? No. 10th, 12th, okay, you don't satisfy, if you don't satisfy the criteria, okay, no, sorry, you can't sit for the interview. Man, test the person out, right? See how much he knows, right? Instead of just saying in 10th and 12th, right? So whole new debate we could have, right? But that's what I think about. Vivekanand Bhupati says, how would you recommend I get better at programming at the same time I work? Um, well, when you work, right, the idea is what you do after. So now there are two parts here, Mr. Bhupati here. One is when, and I was talking to my friend last night about this. So one engineer who gets a job, satisfied, does the 9 to 5, solve tickets, and done for the day. The second engineer is essentially who does the 9 to 5, and then he's like, oh, what is this new technology? Oh, let me go and learn about this. Oh, let me learn this about that. So saying getting better at programming is a very general term. I would say maybe expanding your knowledge on different frameworks and keeping up with the technology is what I consider as a good programmer, right? Everyone can write code, right? But what I'm trying to say is once you know writing code, maybe see how what's the best way we can do that, right? Maybe what design pattern you can apply. Okay, is this the best way I can do it? Okay, how would other people do it, right? Maybe taking advices, doing some code reviews with your peers, and they trying to help you out, right? Oh, do this, do that. So this is my honest advice. Yeah, Mr. Bhopati. Hope that helps. Milan says, how can I get a freelance project on Python developer? Well, you could go to various websites on online. I don't know the names, but there are several websites, and you have to create your profile, and then you can bid there. And once I would say it's all about building profile, and once you build your profile properly on these freelancing website, then you gotta you know message the customer or the client and say, hey, this is this, I'm ready to do this at this job, I'm really good at this. You have to you have to sell yourself, right? Because there are thousands of people on freelancer, right? And from that too from different countries. So it's all about how you place yourself in the plate, right? It's all about how you present, right? So is what I would say. Chetan Parekh says, can you please make a video on deploying Elasticsearch on EC2 on Ubuntu image? Usually, Chetan, we don't do that. Actually, when you want to work with Elasticsearch, you actually, on AWS, you have OpenSearch. So they take care of all that infrastructure. You just have to specify what instance size, how many compute node you need. We never do that. So if you want to do that, I'm assuming you're doing it for testing and POC purposes. For that, you can use a local host. You can install Elasticsearch on your computer and do that. The minimum requirement for Elasticsearch is at least 8 gigabytes of RAM. So you want to use an EC2 instance that has minimum 8 GB of RAM and at least 20 GB of memory. So Vivekan Bopati says, I usually find it difficult time balancing the two. Yeah, that is true. And it also depends whether you are married or not, right? For example, I am single. I have a girlfriend though, but what I'm trying to say is, if you are married, that adds an additional complexity, right? Then your time gets devoted there. So what you can do is maybe on weekends or Saturday, Sunday, every day 1 hour or 30 minutes, just watch some videos or read something other than your work. Of course, you're doing your 9 to 5, but what is that extra edge factor that you're learning other than 9 to 5, right? It is what happens after 5 o'clock. I do understand there's a lot more things to do. You might have a family, you might have other responsibilities, which is why I say once in a week is fine, right? Every Saturday or Sunday, you can devote at least 1 or 1.5 hours. Maybe you can skip watching Netflix, right? So it's all about, I would say, prioritizing what is important to you, which is what I would say. So hope the explanation will help you out, right? Milan says, okay, I think I have answered that. Chetan Parekh says, can you please make a video on I have answered that as well. Vivek Bopati says, I usually find, I did answer that. Then Chetan Parekh says, I tried deploying it, but it did not help much. We had to fix a heap size. Yeah, I told you, right? Because Elasticsearch won't work. You need a good amount of heap and memory manually. But what that will create a performance issue. Of course, as I said, you can't install Elasticsearch on EC2 unless you go for C5 large. The minimum you can go for C5 or heavy compute based nodes. So I would leave all that to AWS, man. They take care of the infrastructure and build. Focus on developing application is what I would say. Mr. Reddy says, yeah, I totally agree with you. Even I have gone through all these aptitude tests. Yep, that is right, man. I told you. All right, we'll take 5 more minutes, guys, and then we would wrap today's session. It has been a great time. So 5 more minutes. Any questions that I could answer, please do dump them in the comment section below, and they would be answered in the order in which it was received. So 5 more minutes, and then we'll wrap up today's session. Okay. Any more question, guys? Anything that you want to know? More than happy to answer about that. 5 more minutes. All right, assuming nobody has any questions, once again, thank you very much for joining. It has been always wonderful to talk to everyone. Do expect some nice tutorial on Python, Elasticsearch, AWS on my channel, data science, machine learning. We keep learning as usual, right? What is unique about my channel is I do not, well, whatever I learn at my work, I teach you, right? So that's the beauty. So you will find bits and pieces about everything in my YouTube channel: C Sharp, Python, AWS, data science, machine learning, everything, right? With that being said, please stay safe, stay focused, be healthy, keep learning, keep smiling in your life, be happy.